I call Debbie Hauriwa-Packer.
Tēnā koe te pika, tēnā tātou te whare. Hā ki roto, hā ki waho, wairia mai. Last night we finished at midnight, and I think we must have done about 15, 16 hours, and I was feeling a little bit sorry for myself, and got down to the ground floor, and I saw our whānau, our Pacifica sisters, they're all getting ready to come in and clean this building. And it made me humble myself, remember my place, and remember every day we walk in, and the pixies have done their thing now, not the same pixies that Shane Jones cynically refers to, but the real pixies around here, the real fairies that are here being real agents of change every day in our daily lives. They are cleaning up after us, they're correcting our spaces and places. They wakanoa. I don't know how they wakanoa this space, but they do. And every day we come in and it all looks perfect. The caterers, the parliamentary services. The same goes on when we go out into our supermarkets, our schools, our hospitals, our buses, the motels, the restaurants. But this particular building I want to mihi first and foremost to all of those who behind the scenes make everything happen for us. And I know at times the whole world or the whole of Aotearoa thinks that we are it, and we're certainly not. And so I want to mihi to the people we don't see, who we don't hear, and I want to humble myself to you for every day what it is that you do to make this possible. And I really love the cleaner who's got the Xmas caddy, because sometimes we walk out of here and you feel like you've just been shot in the stomach and in the back, and you're limping up the stairs and you see her with her little caddy, and I don't know if you've all seen it, but it's brilliant. It's just brilliant for us to have around, that we actually have staff who show their character in this place. Because in institution time, at times it's really hard to see their character. I think it's really important that we continue to stay humble in this place, and having been my second term, what I have seen is waves of red fill the place, and really assert themselves really confidently and be really proud, and then I've seen them quietly leave with all their hopes and their passions in their boxes. And we've had to sit in the corridor and watch a whole corridor empty out. And I want to remind ourselves this year, and I congratulate our government, I truly do. You worked hard, and you'll continue to work hard to stay together. But those of us who campaign, and you have taught me the true meaning of what goes on in campaign stays in campaign. But, you know, of all sincerity, I think it's really important to remember that we are replaceable. Most of us politicians are indeed forgettable, and not many of us are going to end up in bronze statues, and not all of us will become dames and sirs or Winston Peters. Those are unique politicians, and we need to, and I pay respect, but we also need to stay humble and remember our egos in this place and remember the people that we're performing in front of. So I also want to mihi to our pika, who knows that I started by first and foremost trying to bring in my whanaunga from Te Taihawauru, who I've never seen him move so fast in his life to decline the offer, but we have enjoyed your wisdom. I know that you have some long-term relationships in here, and even though our ACT leader has gone, I'm enjoying getting to know and have some space and some colleagues now with us to be able to understand the tikanga of the House. And I ask for the patience and enjoy listening to you all, old and new, breaths of fresh air or old air. It's important for us to all understand and to learn that governments are not the vessels of change as much as we think we are. And we've done some brilliant maiden speeches this year, but we rise and fall with the tide and the will of our people. And I'll keep reminding that there are two Cinderellas in Parliament this year, and we have experienced what it's like to leave here and to not be voted back in. And I think it's really important to remember ourselves, to be humble. So we find ourselves as Māori Pacifica tangata reti in a really unique situation where 83% of us didn't support this government. And I'll say this, and it's not te takahi. 1% voted for ACT, 4% voted for New Zealand First, 5% of Māori voted for National. My tono to you, even though that's the case, is that you don't leave tangata whenua behind. I get where you're going, but I also want you to see and hear our people and who we are today, because even though we didn't vote for this government, we are various peoples of privilege. And how we use that privilege is really important, how we check ourselves. And having privilege doesn't mean that we haven't had hardship. Having privilege means that there are certain times when people have an unearned benefit or advantage. And I really ask for our mana haua, for our tangata haua, for our rainbow communities, for our Māori and Pacifica communities, that we stay focused on what it is that you're needing to do, but please, please don't make them expendable as you're asserting your style of politics in Aotearoa in this very small, short time. Because history has shown us that things often change very quickly. Te Tiriti had 500 rangatira. The treaty had 50 rangatira. That's just facts. And I'll leave that there. We are a young nation. We're the last of the islands to be colonised. We're known as a nation of progress. We are acknowledged for how we made decisions in the past, with how we've done it with women's votes, how we've done it with our nuclear-free moments, how we've done it with our tangata whenua, how the treaty is seen. And so I acknowledge today that we've reached a point in our political environment and our moment in time where we have, as tangata whenua, progressed so far that it's created fear, and somehow it's been viewed that we are putting a certain sector of conservative people who are used to a certain type of superiority and power at risk. And this is just my views to offer an adjournment. I'm not quite sure what we do with that knowledge as a nation. What I am really clear is that I'm a politician for a culture and a group of society where 70% of our population are under the age of 40, 25% of our population, 25% are under the age of 21. And I invite us to see who some of these mokopuna and who they belong to. So they belong to some of the largest employers in Aotearoa. They belong to some of the largest land owners and providers of milk to Fonterra. They belong to some of the largest fishing industries. They belong to some of those with the largest fishing quota. They belong to some of those who have the largest infrastructure and tourism spaces. They belong to some of those who have the largest blueberries and the largest horticulture sectors. They are shareholders here in Taranaki of those who have the government crown leases. They have and belong to shareholders of perpetual funds that actually perform better than local and regional government perpetual funds. So my hope is that we go away and have a good break, because everyone deserves it. It was a vicious campaign, and people worked really, really hard to get their points across and to get to where they are today. But peace and goodwill is the theme that I intend to leave from our party for this season, and that we use this period to be more tolerant, perhaps to use our opportunities and relationships to give guidance, to fix where we have extreme views. And I acknowledge that at times it'll be seen as us having an extreme opposing view. And also I urge that we continue to behave with decorum and be held accountable at times when we don't. To our own people who are out there, I want to thank you for your support. You through the polls and the media. We don't have a great relationship with media. In fact, I often use Jason as part of my TikTok content. I hope he gets the good spirit that's intended in. But I also want to remind our people that we must be persistent. We must be patient. I am not the end game. You are not the end game. The end game is still being born. Their end game is still being born. We must stay focused on what matters. We must remember our tupuna's lessons to be smarter, to be peaceful, to not be degrading ourselves, to act with dignity. And also, oranga whānau, oranga whenua, toi tū te tiriti. I hope also that we take this time to remember those that are suffering, that are in pain, to look after the elderly, to make sure that we take time out for them. Don't do the phone calls if you can get around and see them. Not everyone is having a happy Christmas. Not everyone has something under their tree. So please take time to help in whatever way that you can, with whatever generosity and charity that you have. I hope also that we do all we can do to cease fire and to stop the violence that we see going on to children and innocent civilians, and we use all our sphere of influence, no matter what side you sit on, to make sure we spend this time to stop the world from being as cruel and harsh as it is to peoples, and we try and build a better, peaceful dignified world for all to be able to live in. I wish you all a Merry Christmas, especially you, E Te Pika, and I cannot promise that nobody won't get booted out in the next term, but I certainly think there'll be 5 others that will be happy to fill that out for him as well. So all the blessings to you all. Kia ora.